Alright, so we're gonna make some fucking trap beats. I'm Green Mountain, and I just wanted to make a tutorial for my buddy Wheezy to show him how I make my beats. So we're just gonna get right into it here. I got a fresh Ableton project loaded up. So the first thing I usually do is get rid of all this bullshit, so there's just one MIDI track, and then Control-Shift-M, I make a new, like, whatever you want to call this thing, block of notes. I don't know what the term for this is. Who knows? Then I usually throw on a Serum or whatever synth. I use Serum, and I'm gonna bring that down here. So sure why it's there we go. So I bring this volume down to like 12 so that whatever this is peaking at, like, that's good. And then I just lay down some notes. I try to always write everything between the keys of like E to G. You can do like D to A and it's probably fine. What was I gonna say? Alright, so I'm gonna start in like F. That's pretty typical. And then I just like grab a synth from here. You know, whatever lead. That's pretty fucking loud, so. So that's a pretty sweet sounding synth. Oh yeah, I always work in 140 BPM. Not always. Sometimes I work in 150. Usually 140. So we got that note, and then we can just do like a little just basic trap beat. Copy that shit. No, that's a bad note. So we got this like little trap deal going on here. It's pretty sick and stuff. I copy that, and then like to give some variation right before the drop, take out like a note or two for lulz, because you can't just like run the same bar over and over into the drop. It just doesn't sound like a drop. You gotta give it some drop. Alright, and then maybe pop an auto filter on this bitch and an EQ. Cut everything below 100 hertz. Not freak, that doesn't make sense. And then maybe I will usually add like this little high pass modulation here, so it sort of slowly comes in. And that's pretty sick and stuff. And then on the drop, I'll make it shine through. And then usually I like to run snares across this. Sometimes I just go right into the kick. Sometimes I do some more synth work, like with chords. We're just doing a basic thing, so I'm not gonna worry about that. Control-Shift-M. Oh no, this is an audio. Well, I want audio for. I'm gonna grab a sweet snare. That's interesting. The key to everything is volume levels. If your volume levels are like off, shit's just gonna sound like shit. Again, I'm just cutting out everything below like 150 to 200. It depends on what sample, what's going on. And then I'll just give this a little reverb. I make sure to always send all the reverbs through the reverb channel, and that just makes it sound a lot better. Here what I'm doing is just I don't like the default 3-second decay time. It's too long for me. And I'm just bringing up the stereo width and the size of the reverb so it sounds bigger, and then I don't need this much chorus. So that's pretty sick. This synth's still way too loud. Alright, so then I just sort of duplicate the snares all the way across, because you want that to be like your consistent. The snares are really what drives it forward. Like, you can pretty much do whatever you want around snares, and that, for me at least, that's what keeps the track pushing along. Okay, so we got another MIDI track here. What I'm gonna do is I have a instrument rack with my favorite kick and a little bit of EQing here. I cut out below 50 hertz. And I boosted at 270-ish, which was pretty random, but like you want to boost at like 200 to 300 range. And then I just cut out like the highs a little bit with this filter here. And you can do, I mean, you definitely, like, for a while I was EQing my kicks like this, or like this, or like that kind of thing, and I realized that you definitely want to keep all that high range stuff. You don't want to lose that, so... and then I have a compressor here that just makes it sound fatter, and a little bit of saturation more up here. Alright, so then that sounds like, if I bring this down, it sounds like that. And then if we want to make a sick trap beat, just move this over here. That snare is not going to work for me, actually. And now, I don't even like this snare pattern. Sorry if that's like outrageously loud. And I like to do this little drop thing here. And then I'm just going to run these snares back across. Put another snare here. This is like, compress this a little bit. What I may even do to make this sound pretty sick is I'm going to add this Hass effect deal, so it's just going to widen it. And then you can add a little auto pan. big fan of kick triplets in general. Triplets for days, but I like to have triplets in kicks, snares, and hats. It's just dope. Yo. So this fucking snare is loud as shit. I'm gonna compress this shit. Whoa, son. Chill. So I'm bringing down the gain on this, I mean, because that's clipping like super hard. So if you bring this down and then you compress this a little more, and it'll make the sound a little thicker. You can bring the ratio up, but then you gotta bring the gain down. This is just gonna make it punchier. And then you want to bring the knee down for percussion. You gotta make sure to turn off the triplet. If you, yeah, you guys probably know how to use triplet grid, but it's down here. Or Control 3 turns on and off triplet grid. Or if you're on a Mac, probably Command 3. So I'm just gonna do the intro and the first verse. So this is the first verse for this video, but I'm gonna do a bunch of layers, so you'll get some stuff. I'm just gonna fill out these kicks, and then we'll move on to some other elements. And then right here, since this is transition to the next bar, I'm going to cut this note so that it feels more like a transition rather than just a loop playing over and over. And that comes back in. Could even like raise this up if I wanted. It's always like a pretty standard thing to do in trap to make things hype is just to raise the fucking melody an octave. I'm gonna do triplets here again because triplets are lit. You always want to make sure to take it out of triplet grid again when you're done working with triplets, because otherwise it'll just fuck up all your shit. I like kick rolls a lot. Alright. So then I like to raise some of them an octave. Because what I like to do next, this is actually something I started doing recently, but it's much, much faster than my previous method, which is to make the kicks in MIDI. Before I was doing it all with samples, which was a pain in the ass. Sorry, I'm drinking coffee, one sec. And then, once you have that, you just fucking duplicate this shit. And I just throw on my green sub, which is an instrument rack I have created for my sub using operator, basic operator with voices set to 1. That's important so that your sub's in mono. And I like to bring this release up to like 1.5 seconds ish, and then a little bit delayed attack so that the kick can hit. And yeah, sine wave, you can like mess with this, but that's the basic shit. And then I EQ it, cut out everything below 30 and above like 250, 300-ish. This, I boost wherever the sub is, just usually like we're in F, so like here. And then some compression, just to make it sound fatter. And then I sidechain from the kick. That's important with an attack of 0.01, and then sort of moderate threshold here. You don't want it to be too low. So like 6 or 7, 10 area I think works pretty well. And then some saturation, just a little bit, just to make sure you can hear it on like iPhone speakers and shit, and also just to give it a little warmth. Okay, so the other thing is that it's gonna be like multiple octaves too high when you duplicate it. So I usually drop down 3 octaves. If you hold shift, you can move stuff by octaves, which is pretty fucking awesome. And then since this is in F, I don't really care if the kick is in key. It sounds fine. So yeah, so this is an F now, and then I'm gonna bring this up. Oh no, it's already down. Yeah, so let's see. Okay, so that sounds decent. The kicks, the sub is a little weird. I like to mess with it, mess with the MIDI so that it sounds better. So I'm gonna take this out of triplet. So like I want these notes to be longer than they are for the kick, because you just need that hit for the kick, but the sub you need it to sustain. So I like to make these line up sort of with the snares. So like this sub goes until this snare hits, and then you get that like nice cut off sound of like emptiness before the next kick comes in. So listen. And then you can even enhance that more by lowering the release a little bit. The sub is too loud. Yeah, so a word on volumes of stuff. I like to have my kick sit at like 9 to 10 dB. Snare pretty similar, and then like synths and stuff like 12 to 17 range. Depends on how loud. Like it's all relative, but then give this some reverb too. And a lot of times when I'm working, just because I want it to sound better, I will slap a limiter on this dog, and it's like peaking at like -5, so I can bring this up like 6 or 7 and it'll sound pretty lit. But then we gotta bring it down here. It's gonna be hella loud. I'm just gonna save this as tutorial beat real quick. That sounds pretty good. I almost want this to be an octave higher, so I'm gonna do that here. I want this to be longer. I feel like this could be higher too. I'm just messing with sub right now. I want this to be an octave up. So the reason why like some of these are chopped up, like this is like 3 tiny subs, I don't really need that to be like that, but it doesn't really matter because the compressor sort of takes care of that, so it's kind of better to just leave them as like one chunk of bass. this in A sharp, so yeah, that's how we want to end that. So I want this to be in A sharp as well, because this is in A sharp right here, so I want this to be in A sharp. So that sounds dang. Alright, so that's pretty sick. Gonna save it. Always save your work. Key. Give me 1 sec to stretch. Alright, so the next deal. I spilled coffee on my mouse pad, wrecked. The next deal we're gonna do is drop a audio track on this. Nope. What do I want to do next? No, I'm gonna do MIDI. I'm gonna throw some supplemental snares in this shit to make it lit in the house, fam. So we're gonna Control-Shift-M, make another layer dealio, and then I look for a snare that's pretty lit. Not that one. Well, first I want to throw a simpler on this. And the reason I switched over to doing everything in MIDI is so it's way easier to copy, paste shit, and like use different samples for stuff. So like I'll make this with snares, and then I'll duplicate it like 3 times and use different samples throughout my song. So like and then I'll pan them different directions so you have different snares, but it's like the same MIDI. I'll mess with it a little bit, but it's much easier to start with that than having to recreate like a bunch of different layers all the time. Having trouble finding the exact sound I'm going for. Maybe this down like here. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Get that low snare. Some reverb, a little panning, a little EQing. Get out of that. Get out that sub 100 range. Don't want that ish. Sub 200 really for the supplemental snare, so you can just keep. Well, that's a low one though, so you want some sub with that. Not sub, but just bass. And I like to have this peak at like 12 or 15, well, even less sometimes. Maybe like 15 dB. I don't want this here though, because it makes no sense. So. Maybe we'll do like a little triplet here. Like get rid of this, like this. Fan of this synth anymore. I think we're gonna use that as the intro synth and then switch it up. So we can take the autofill. I'll just leave it. We're gonna switch this up to like some kind of trappy, plucky deal because this is not. I don't like this anymore. Don't freeze on me, bro. So let's try like. I need like a lead that doesn't suck. cool if it had like any semblance of melody whatsoever. But it does not. That's pretty lit. These are all like lit, but don't sound like anything but just like screeching. Make it even more lit, like on the build up and shit, we can have that come in. So one technique for drops that works really well is you have like this main synth that you're hearing, so this one, and like your ear hooks onto that and you're listening to that, and then if you slowly bring in this other one like underneath it but in a way where it's not overtaking the first one, and then you bring in the second one in the drop. That's a pretty common technique. I like this lead, but it just has no melody at all, which really annoys me. So I think I'm gonna not use it. It just like is way too out there. We're gonna go with that one. Now we're gonna mess with these snares. So I like to do snares at different octaves too, so like actually did not know that Control 3 was a hotkey for that until making this video, and that is super nice for triplets. Triplet rolls are key. Raise in pitch are also important. For that hype. Alright, so there's my snares. That's pretty fucking lit so far. I'm gonna add a riser. So far this is a 38-minute video. That's pretty fat. It's okay. I'm gonna try to make this under an hour. So let's see. I'm gonna drop serum on this. I already have a downlifter preset made, which or I'm gonna do a riser first. So it's basically all it is this LFO on modulating the pitch and the level. So you set it to like 16 bars, and then it takes 16 bars to get up to the max pitch and level. So it just is a white noise sweep basically. It works really well. You can change like the noise and stuff. You can look up, there's tutorials to make risers with serum or pretty much any DAW. So if I just put this on here, I want to EQ it. I want to give it reverb. I don't want it to be that loud. Maybe some delay. And I'll duplicate this and make that the downlift. That's pretty sick and shit. Maybe pan it a little bit. And then add some hats. So I guess I'm still doing my hats in audio. I don't see a reason not to. I don't know. You can do them in MIDI. It doesn't matter. I program all my hats individually because it's lit. So. I just like doing that better than like some kind of modulation. It's pretty fucking big. I do hats and triplets too. It's better. It's lit. God damn it. this video, I'm going to duplicate these hats because it's too much work. Alright, so also labeling everything's important, but that's also too much work. This is snares. Alright, so, yeah. This is pretty much like the basic foundation of a trap beat. Sometimes I like to add some, like, well, pretty much every track actually. I add some like atmospheric shit in the beginning. A lot of times I'll look up on free sound and find like sounds of rain or waves or like storms or buses or whatever the fuck type of shit. For this, I'm just gonna grab some like atmosphere samples. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna put it there. So I'm gonna cut out like sub 70. Yeah, I don't want this garbage. Well, maybe I'll clear. Excuse me. So that's pretty cool, and then we can add another one. Definitely want that to have a lot of reverb, maybe some delay, and even some auto pan, soft auto pan. There might be like texture. Add something like that with like some panning. Just gives it some texture. Texture is important. Maybe add another one. Some other sounds like through it. Could even like just send this to the reverb. Pan that shit all the way left or something. So that's pretty lit, fam. That's pretty much how it goes. I'm just gonna play it one more time.
Green Mountain.
I want this time. Excuse me. Jesus. I want this timing to be better.
Green Mountain. Green Mountain.
Alright, I'm gonna play it one more time and then end this vid. Save it real quick.
Green Mountain.
Alright, peace out. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe or whatever, if this even